Welcome to this week's edition of MIAA 360. Broadcasting from inside the MIAA Network studios, I'm Jason Katz. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, we preview the MIAA women's bowling season by talking to UCM's Brianna Zimmerman. Plus, we meet some of the members of the MIAA Ambassadors Committee. But first, last week we featured an interview with Austin Acosta of Southwest Baptist University about the MIAA's We Care initiative. We pick up that conversation with asking him about what it's like to be an NCAA Division II National Student Athlete Advisory Committee member.
Okay, yeah, so those experiences have been great. It's really cool to see how the NCAA is run as a whole. As a basic athlete going through college, you're not really informed of all the intricate networks that are involved in collegiate athletics. And so really getting another insight on that, and then being able to share the student athlete voice. I represent the MIAA conference, and so I get to take all the opinions, all the things that we'd like to see change in the conference, and be able to voice those opinions, at the national level and make sure they're heard. It's relatively new for something like that to be done, and so recently we've had a lot of people at the national office take a lot more notice to that, and so I've been able to have a lot more influence and get the voice out there. So it's been a great experience.
You're in rooms with so many different people, whether it's ADs or senior woman administrators or just other athletes like yourself. What are some things that you've been able to witness or been able to learn that you wouldn't have been able to if you didn't have this experience?
So one of the things I think that I've learned that's unique about my experiences is that it's really that perspective again. It's kind of, as an athlete, you don't really understand fully what an athletic administrator has to go through. And, a lot of times we might have complaints about something or we don't understand why something is the way it is. But being able to ask those questions and get the right answers. And a lot of times athletic administrators and SWAs and stuff, they might think, we're all happy and dandy with what's going on. And in reality, we might want something changed. And so then being able to come and listen to us and then have that changed. It's been really cool, though.
Again, we're pleased to be joined by Austin Acosta. He is with the Southwest Baptist University Bearcats track and field team. He's a jumper with them. We'll get to the MIAA June governance meetings here in just a second. But at first, I wanted to ask you, how does a kid from San Antonio, Texas, end up in Bolivar, Missouri?
Well, okay. It is a good 12-hour drive that I make frequently. But, back in San Antonio, I love Texas. I'm a huge Texan fan, but, I wanted to get away from home. I'll be honest. I love my parents, but it was time to get out of the house, and Bolivar was pretty far away. Coming from my end, Christian base, I liked that it was a Christian school, and then I also liked that I was able to compete at the NCAA level. I had some other offers from football and stuff like that, but I was kind of done hitting. So I was more interested in running and becoming more fit of an individual. So I thought, what better way to do that than run around circles in a track? So that's kind of what took me up here to Bolivar.
Yeah, and certainly being able to take those experiences and not only being on the SAAC since January, but now in this summer you were able to join the MIAA governance meetings in June. Talk about that.
Okay. That was a really cool experience. To my knowledge, and it's what I believe I've been told, is that I'm the first student athlete to have been invited to the governance meetings, and so that was kind of a milestone, I think, in the process of really getting the student athlete perspective out there. At the national SAC, we always talk about how we want our opinions heard. And a lot of times it's hard to bring a lot of the stuff we talk about at the national level back to the conference and then institution level. But I think the MIAA did a great job of, of course, inviting me, but really hearing me out. There was a couple times I was able to voice something that pertained to track or pertained to other athletes on campus, kind of gave them what, a student athlete's schedule might be like so that they can kind of see where, practice times might not work, stuff like that. So, it was a really cool. Along with that, I work with, through the National SAC sending out stuff. I work a lot of the time with a lot of those people at the other institutions, and so getting to meet some of them, they give me connections to other people at their institution, so that when I'm sending information out, I know it's being delivered to the right person. So very helpful, very beneficial. I think it was a big step for the MIAA, and I don't know, I thought it was really cool. So.
What made you interested in being a student athlete representative, I should say, with those June meetings, being able to voice the opinions of your constituaries?
What really intrigued me is that here at SBU, I had a bunch of athletes and friends, and we had, just not necessarily issues, but we were kind of curious on why certain things were the way they were. Sorry.
There you go.
And yeah, and I was curious about it, and so I was like, well, how do I find out about that? And so I went to look, for ways to get information, and then I found out about SAC, and then from there I learned about all the really cool opportunities within SAC that there were, and to be able to voice some of those student opinions on stuff that we might have issues with. And so I thought that was really cool. And then I looked into what National SAC is about and all the experiences you meet there. I thought it was really cool, all the connections that I could meet, and that really intrigued me. And I really just wanted to develop myself, take on more of like a role where I'm in charge of a little bit more, and being able to distribute and information and stuff like that from people above me. So.
Again, we're pleased to be joined by Austin Acosta. He is a Southwest Baptist University Bearcat long and triple jumper. Have a lot on your plate, obviously, with both athletics and academics and all the extracurriculars you're doing as well. Talk about that grind of every day, either being in the classroom or being on the track, and just how you're able to balance it all.
A lot of people will say college is super, super hard. In reality, it's, it is difficult, but it's not necessarily the classwork that's so much harder. It's time management. And then I think that's a huge thing. Being a student athlete, it's very imperative that you have great time management skills. And that's pretty much how, any student athlete has to survive. They have to be able to schedule out, when they're going to eat, practice, sleep, because sleep is very important for an athlete. And still get all their studies in. And here at SBU, we have mandatory study hall for certain athletes for certain GPAs. But aside from that, just kind of really not wasting time as much as I'd like to. I have a lot of friends who ask me, have you seen the new show? Did you watch that episode? And I have to tell them, no, man, I haven't. I won't watch TV until the Thanksgiving break, December, Christmas break, because every moment of the day I'm trying to do something to just stay alive, so stay above the water. But yeah, definitely time management skills.
Hasty Awards has been proud to be the official award supplier to the MIAA for 7 years, and we're happy to supply you and your organization with all your award needs. Whether you're ordering for your individual youth sports team or placing a custom medal order, we have you covered. As always, you have our lowest price guarantee, highest quality awards, exceptional service, and our hasty turnaround. We are ready to serve you for your next event, no matter how large or small. Hasty Awards is the #1 source for all your award and recognition needs.
Thanks again to Austin Acosta of Southwest Baptist University. We transition now from the track to the lanes as the MIAA women's bowling season gears up. We caught up with UCM's Brianna Zimmerman about what it was like to win last season's inaugural MIAA Conference Championship last March. But we begin with what it's like being named team captain of the UCM Jennies bowling team.
I have a lot of duties that quite haven't been talked about yet, but I already know that there's going to be a lot of let's stay together as a team, do this together, stay in it together. We're a family, so we're going to try and focus around being together, doing it together, staying in it together, all at the same time when we compete in on the lanes, off the lanes.
We got to be pretty excited about this upcoming season. Last year, your team captured the first ever MIAA Women's Bowling Conference Championship. In fact, by doing so, you beat McKendree, who went on to win the national championship. That's got to give you some positive feelings going forward about your team, about our league in the future.
I'm very excited to go on to this year. We have a lot of good incoming players as well as a lot of good returning players to be able to follow that up this year. I think we will play well and be a competitive team.
Okay. What's going on right now? Are you doing anything off-season wise? I think the season starts probably in November or so in terms of actual competition dates. Do you do anything right now to get ready?
Season starts October 1st. It's a Sunday this year. I'm very excited. We're starting a little bit of a preseason this week. We are lifting weights, doing cardio, a little bit of on-lane time as much as we can before we start head first, October 1st, 3 hours a day kind of stuff.
Okay. Why did you pick Central Missouri as a place to compete as a student athlete?
I really liked their program. My aunt went there. I grew up watching them as a small 6-year-old, 10-year-old, you know. And Ron is very personable. Coach Holmes is great. The school itself is just so small, and it feels not huge, and you don't feel like a little fish walking around, but it's nice. It's a nice school. It's nice and small. You know everybody. It's great.
Your aunt, you mentioned, she's a Hall of Famer.
My aunt is a Hall of Famer.
So I'm sure she was excited when you said you were going to go compete at Central Missouri. But did she was a student athlete there as well?
Yep. My aunt, her name is Tina Peak Balser. She was a bowler for Jenny's Bowling, and so yep, she was very excited that I chose to go there. It's nice because she's very close to me. And
well, you've been a scholar athlete, MIAA scholar athlete. You've been recognized by the National Association for your academic achievements. Talk about balancing the demands of being a student athlete and academics on campus.
Academics have always been very important to me. I'm a student first, athlete second. It's great that I'm able to do both, and I'm very thankful that I've gone to a school that has provided me with that option. Being able to get all my work done is a lot of talking to my teachers, and my teachers are awesome. They all work with me no matter what the situation is. I'm like, hey, I'm going to Wisconsin this weekend, or I'm going to Texas this weekend. What are we doing? And they're awesome. They're just like, come back, we'll talk about it later when you get back. Have a good weekend. So usually when I go, it's a lot of working ahead on the bus as much as I can, and nights in the hotel rooms when I'm down in the lobby working on my homework too, to be able to maintain the good grades that I expect myself to get. So.
When you found out that when you first started competing in Central Missouri, obviously women's bowling wasn't a conference sport. Now that it's been added, were you excited when you heard the news?
I was very excited. It meant more for us because that means more competitions and more playing and more just competitiveness on the lanes, which is awesome. We love being able to compete as a team. It's very exciting.
Yeah, in fact, that pin right there represents your conference championship last year.
It
I think
does.
your name's on there somewhere, right?
Yeah, my name's on the back.
Let's talk about, you came to Central Missouri as an accomplished bowler, both in some events over the summer, junior national championships, that kind of thing. But at high school, I think you led your team to 2 straight state championships. Is that right? Talk about that.
We did make it to the state tournament twice, my sophomore and junior year. We did well. We usually ended top 10, which is really good. My coach, Jimmy, at the time, is a great coach, and I will never not say that. He has always been my rock ever since the beginning. He's a great person.
As part of that, your high school career, your last conference event ever as a high school senior, you bowled a 300 game in that competition. Were you nervous? Talk about that process.
Bowling a 300 is very nerve-wracking, especially your first one. My first one was my last tournament, or my last match of conference play of my senior year, and so that was a little bit nerve-wracking. I always joked with my mom. I was like, well, if I don't like throw it this year, I'm never gonna throw it, and it was my last one of my senior year. So that was very special to me, to be able to do that for my team and myself.
What you majored in down at school?
Majored in sport management with a minor in business administration.
What do you see your career goals after you graduate from Central Missouri and completed your playing career there?
I don't ever see myself leaving college sports. I really love college sports, and the idea that it gives a student athlete to be able to continue on being an athlete while still being a student is great. I love that. I would like to stay in college sports. And I had talked about GAing with the team, being a GA coach, as well as possibly doing an internship at the NCAA.
Do you see your playing career continuing on beyond college, possibly in the professional level?
I would like to. I had thought about doing team trials that start in January, beginning of January. They do team trials for Team USA. I thought about doing those. It's in my head. I'm not really sure yet. I haven't really decided.
We've got our heads in the game,
our minds in the classroom,
our hands in the community,
and our feet ready for the world.
We're a part of the NCAA Division II experience.
Using our skills
at our universities and in our communities. I chose the MIAA.
I chose the MIAA.
MIAA, the spirit of our communities.
Thanks again to Brianna Zimmerman of UCM for joining us. Last but certainly not least tonight, we caught up with members of the MIAA Ambassadors Committee to find out what it means to them to be a part of the MIAA Conference.
We've talked a lot in the past about how the MIAA, there's so many past alumni from MIAA schools in Kansas City, and it seems like it kind of gets forgotten among them that about the MIAA and what it's meant to them, their education and their past. And so it's good to see a group like the Ambassadors come together that really promotes the conference and all the schools and all the alumni involved.
It's exciting to be a member of the initial inaugural group. There's only one first, and so we get to be that, and with that comes the challenge and the responsibility of bringing people into the organization that are also going to have the same thoughts, the same ideas, the same goals as we do, and kind of excited about that.
College is difficult for students, athletes included, and I think that anything that we can do for athletes to feel like it's a cohesive environment for them, that people care, we care, they're not alone out there. I mean, they can be athletes and the crowd can be cheering and they can be very successful on court, but when they're off court or off the field or off the golf course, you don't know what they're dealing with personally.
There's a family atmosphere, there's a continuity no matter where it is of the schools, and it's neat because you get to meet kids from all the schools, and they played in the area. A lot of them played their sports in the Kansas City metropolitan area. They go on to the area colleges, and so that relationship continues. And that, I think, makes us unique, and it's something that's hidden. We're a well-kept secret, and we got to get it out there.
I think, to me, and the reason you're sitting here and the reason we want to get this group launched is I'm not sure that Kansas City really understands the MIAA and what it has here in Kansas City with our hub in Kansas City, our conference office in Kansas City, a lot of events that we do in Kansas City, the only NCAA conference office in Kansas City, certainly the oldest athletic organization in Kansas City, and I don't think that the media and the corporate community and leaders in Kansas City really know about that, and we're asking you and folks that join this group to help us with those connections and talking about the MIAA. As you attend our first meeting and you look around, and it is a small, intimate group that we've assembled. I'm reminded this morning I did some research on the NCAA, and I discovered that the first meeting of the NCAA in 1905, there were 13 people that got together in New York City, and a follow-up meeting in 1906, there were 62 people that were in attendance. Now the NCAA has 1,200 member institutions. I'm not advocating that our ambassadors group needs to be 1,200 people, but I do think that the four of you are helping us to start something that's going to be really important, I think, to the long-term vision and strategic direction of the MIAA in Kansas City.
It's on us, all of us, to make sexual assault unacceptable.
Here are a few tips that can help. Talk to your friends honestly and openly about sexual assault.
Don't be a bystander. If you see something, intervene in any way you can.
Be direct. Ask someone who looks like they may need help if they're okay.
It's on us.
Well, it looks like that's about all the time we have for this week's edition of MIAA 360. Broadcasting from inside the MIAA Network studios, I'm Jason Katz. And until next time, bring your A game.